everyone, and welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video, this Halloween scene illustration. We got a jack-o'-lantern, we got ghosts, we got bats, and we got a moon. So we are ready for Halloween. This one's a lot of fun, very simple. We use Symmetry to help us out and some other pretty simple techniques, but lots and lots of fun to bring it all together. So I hope that you enjoy it. If you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so I have that linked in the description below. If you join us there, you get access to exclusive tutorials every month, along with sneak peeks of what we're going to be drawing over here on YouTube. And if you join now, you get access to all of the tutorials that I've posted on there thus far, about a year and a half's worth of tutorials, including ones from like last fall and holiday season, with that coming up. So you can get access to those right away. So here are some of the ones that we've been drawing recently and some of the ones that we drew last year. So again, check that out in the description below if you would like to. Otherwise, before we get started on today's video, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette. I have it linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just save the file that downloads to your iPad and either double tap it or click on it and click open in Procreate, and it will automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the drawing today. Other than that, nothing else to download, but I will post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen here and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we'll get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we'll be working with today. So let's just go ahead and get started. We're not going to set our background color yet. We're actually going to draw a good few of our items first, just so that we kind of know where we need the glow to be. And our background is so dark that without the glow, we can't really see what we're drawing very well, especially the fence, which is actually what we're going to start with, the fence. So we are just going to be on layer 1. We are going to grab our 9th color on the top row. And we're going to use our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab to get started. I'm going to have my size at 30% and my opacity is at 100. And we're going to turn on Symmetry to help us. So under the gear icon, under Canvas, click to turn on the drawing guide, click Edit Drawing Guide, and switch it to Symmetry. You should see a vertical line here. If you do not, click on Vertical under Options here, and then go ahead and click Done. And then most importantly, on our layer menu, this layer that we're on now should say Assisted. If it doesn't, just click on it and turn on Drawing Assist, which means Symmetry is active on this layer. So we're just going to start with a horizontal line. That's going to be our top line, and then we're going to go off that. We're going to center that on our canvas afterwards. So just anywhere you want to start, I'm going to start a little bit in from the edge of my canvas, maybe like 1/5 to 1/4 of the way in. I'm going to start right there, draw to the center, hold it down until it turns perfectly straight, and then touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. Okay, and that's the start of our line. We're going to grab it with our arrow tool and just make sure that snapping is turned on in the bottom left, and we are going to snap it to the center of our screen here where we see our 2 yellow lines. So the vertical yellow line means it's centered from left to right, which it should be because we drew it on Symmetry, but we're mainly looking to place it on this horizontal yellow line, keeping it on the vertical one too, so it's perfectly centered in the middle there. Okay, same layer, same brush, same color. We are just going to go down a little ways and draw the bottom line. So I'm going to try to match the same starting point here on the edge. And again, down a good ways, not all the way to the bottom though, a bit short of that. And go again to the center, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. And then if you need to, you can click the line button at the top and you can adjust it. So then you can kind of bring it in or out too, if that's helpful, to try to line it up on the side there as best as you can. But something like this looks good. So now we're going to draw our vertical lines, and this is where Symmetry will really help us out. So I'm going to start a little ways from the center vertical Symmetry line. I'm going to start off the bottom of my line down here a little bit, and we're going to draw straight up till we're extending past the top line a little bit. Hold that down until it turns perfectly straight, and then touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly vertical. And then again, if we need to click the edit line button, we can, but just know that this spacing is going to be how spaced out they are next. So like then I'll space the next ones out here and maybe I'll have room for like one more towards the edge. So bring it in or space it out further depending on how far away you want them all to be. but I think this looks good, just extended down on the bottom just a little bit and a little bit more on the top maybe. Okay, back to our pen tool. And so now we'll, again, whatever space we have here, we're going to space that same amount down on the right side. Start again below that line, draw up, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Again, try to kind of match those sizes and heights. And then I'll probably have room for one more before we get to the edge, and then I'll leave that little bit on the edge there. So draw it again, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Beautiful. And if they're not perfectly lined up, that's okay. Not a huge deal. But this is our fence now, so that is looking good. We are going to add some triangles to the top of our little fence post there to kind of add some more spooky detail. So I'm going to just zoom in here and make a little triangle on the top of this one first. So I'm going to draw a line across the bottom, up, and then back down. I'm going to hold all three of those lines down. And then at the top here, it'll give me either a polyline or triangle option. And either one you click on, you can just kind of adjust it here so it's nice and kind of flat on the bottom, centered with our line on the top there. And then we can fill that in. And then it mirrors on the other side as well. And then we'll keep doing that all the way down. So another 3 lines, hold it down, edit. Nice and flat on the bottom, centered on the top here. Fill it in. Again, they don't have to be perfect. That is okay. And then our last one here, or however many posts you have. If you just want to kind of zoom out and check that they're kind of similar in sizing and whatnot. But that looks great. So that's it for my fence now. So we'll have that just kind of be in the background behind our pumpkin and our ghosts, and then we'll kind of focus on the moon in the sky as well. So next up, we're just going to go straight into drawing our pumpkin and our moon, and then I think we'll be able to create our background with our glow, and then we can draw our ghosts because we won't really be able to see the ghosts if we draw them right now. So let's go ahead and move on to our pumpkin. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. Let's click on it and turn Drawing Assist on again so we can use Symmetry. And we're going to grab the first color on the second row of the color palette. Same monoline brush at 30%. And the first thing I'm going to do is draw a kind of horizontal oval for the middle of our pumpkin. And we're going to draw just kind of like in this lower half of the fence, and then the bottom of it can hit like even a little bit lower than the fence does. So I'm just going to draw the full oval all the way around, even though Symmetry is turned on. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. And then click this Edit Ellipse button at the top and we can adjust it. So I just want it to kind of overlap like it's one giant oval here. So just kind of drag it around until they overlap, adjust them. Our blue dots on the top and bottom should be right on our symmetry line. That'll give us a nice, perfect kind of oval there, but a good kind of wide, fun, vertical oval like so. And it's okay if they're not perfectly lined up, but just as close as you can get it. Nice kind of thick oval like so. And then go ahead and fill that in. Then on the same layer, we're going to draw our side pieces as well. So I'm going to start down on this right side a little bit on my other oval and draw a curved line like this all the way around again. Hold it down so we get a full oval. Then we'll click this Edit Ellipse button and adjust it. I want it to be a little shorter, but then I want the bottoms to kind of line up. So the bottoms should be lined up and then they tilt outwards just a little bit. So that's the whole idea. They're shorter. On the top, the bottoms are identical and then they tilt outwards at the top. And then just bring them in or further apart if you need to. We just want a little crevice at the top and bottom here. Nothing too far apart, nothing too close together. So maybe something kind of like this. And then I will go ahead and fill in one of those, and it fills it on the other side as well with our symmetry. Let's keep on going now. I'm going to draw the back pieces of the pumpkin that we can see, like 2 more little humps in the back there. So on our layer menu, add a layer below the pumpkin layer that we have and click on it and turn on Drawing Assist. Grab our darker orange color, the second one on the second row, and same monoline brush. I'm just going to draw just a little hump there in the back, not going down too far because we're going to do some erasing on the front here. So just the little humps, nothing else. And then I'm going to connect them behind that pumpkin there so we can fill in that spot there, or you can just use your brush, whatever works, but just a little bit there to show that it's like 3D. Okay, let's go ahead and draw our stem now as well. So on our layer menu, a new layer right above the one that we're on. No Drawing Assist this time. Grab our first brown color, the 5th one on the second row, and we'll draw our little stem shape. So I'm just going to draw kind of like a slightly slanted line across the top, not too far away from our pumpkin. I held it down, so do that if you would like to. And then on the side here, I'll just have it get kind of wider towards the base, connect that and fill it in. So a nice little stem there. Feel free to grab it with your arrow tool, move it around if you need to resize it, anything like that. But just a little stem sticking up looks good. Next, let's go ahead and erase the face from our main pumpkin. So on our pumpkin layer, we're going to leave drawing assist on, and we're just going to be right on this layer, but we're going to switch to our eraser tool, which I'm also going to have set to the monoline brush under the calligraphy tab, size also at 30%. And we're just going to do some good erasing. So I'm going to go on the right side here, I'm going to erase, and I'm going to go kind of right down from where this crevice is and down a little ways, and I'm going to erase a triangle like so. Hold it down until it all turns nice and straight, and then click this edit polyline button at the top if you would like to, and kind of adjust it, but we just want a good triangle for its eye, like so. Then I'm going to go ahead and use my eraser to just erase the rest of this inside. Awesome. Next, let's go ahead and do our mouth. So I'm going to start my mouth a little ways down, right from the right corner of this triangle, and I'm going to erase a straight horizontal line across first. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen, move it if you need to. Mine got a little low. I'm going to bring it up quite a bit, maybe right about there, just a little ways down from the eye. Okay, eraser again, and I'm going to erase the bottom line, which is going to be a curve. So from this corner towards the center, nice curve, hold that down, edit the arc so that we get a nice smooth curve all the way across. And then I'm going to erase everything inside of that as well. Luckily with symmetry turned on, you just need to do the one side. Makes it a little bit easier. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and erase the nose as well, which is going to be another little triangle in the center of the eyes here. So just a little ways from the symmetry line, I'm going to erase to the center, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen, and then erase upwards to make a little triangle to the center symmetry line there, and erase anything else. So that is the start of our face. So I am going to make the teeth now. So we're going to actually just stay on the same layer, but go back to our orange color, the first one on the second row, and our monoline brush, and we'll add the teeth back in. So we wanted those nice straight lines to start us out, but now we'll just add back in. So on the top side, a little ways from the symmetry line, I'm going to draw like kind of a trapezoid shape. So I'm going to go down at an angle, straight across, then back up at an angle, hold that down, adjust it if you need to, and then fill that in. And then on the bottom, kind of a similar thing, kind of like another trapezoid shape. So like up, over, back down. Again, adjust those if you need to. They're maybe a little close together. I'm just going to move them out a little bit and then fill those in as well. So now we have kind of our mouth shape there. So that kind of completes our face. So that looks great. A few more details to add to our pumpkin. So let's fill in behind his face here. So add a new layer just right underneath our pumpkin layer, our main one there. And we're going to fill in the face with this 9th color on the second row. So I'm going to grab that, and I'm just going to, I'm just behind this layer, so I'm going to create a shape to fill in. So I'm just going to start right here, go around the face till I'm like back to the center where I started, and fill that all in. Okay, on our layer menu, click on this layer and turn on alpha lock, and we're going to brighten up this part of it. So I'm going to grab my last color on the second row, 10th in line there, and grab my soft brush this time under the airbrushing category so we can create like a little bit more of a glow in the center. So find that brush. My opacity for the brush is at 100. My size will do like maybe 7 or 8%. And I'm just going to start in the center and kind of just work in a little circular motion to make it glow just a little bit more there. And we'll add more glow to the whole thing in a little bit, but this is just to kind of get us started. Okay, and then we also need kind of the 3D effect of the inside of the pumpkin. So to do that, we'll go to our layer menu, we'll add a layer above the one that we're on right now, and we'll grab our 8th color on the second row, our slightly lighter orange. And we will grab our monoline brush again. And all we're really going to do is kind of go on the inside of some of these pieces to create like the 3D effect of like the inner part of the pumpkin when you carve it. So I'm actually probably going to turn Symmetry on. So back to my layer menu, click on this layer and turn Drawing Assist on. And so for example, I'm going to start at the bottom of the eye here and I'm just going to go kind of straight across, hold that down. And then maybe I'll do like a little bit of the right side as well. Hold that down. Same thing across like the bottom of the nose. And then maybe the mouth, we'll do like the bottom of the mouth. So I'll kind of follow these curves, follow these lines. Something like that. Adjust them if you need to, or go back in with your eraser if they get too thick or anything like that. I think that looks pretty good. And then maybe we'll do like a little bit on like these side pieces at the top, just so that there's like a little bit more that we see. So just kind of something like that. Awesome. Let's go ahead and continue on. We're going to add a shadow to the front of it because the moon's going to be behind us. So it's going to cast a shadow on the front. We're going to have some highlights on the top. So on our layer menu, go back to our main pumpkin layer. And let's go ahead and add a layer above it and click on it and set it to a clipping mask. So we only draw within the pumpkin shape. And then click on it and turn Drawing Assist on again. And we're going to grab our second color on the second row and our monoline brush still. So we're first going to start kind of right where this crevice is. If we were to like follow this original oval that we did, if we were to follow this down where this crevice is, it would maybe start right about here. And so I'm going to kind of follow that for a second where that crevice would be. And then at the top, I'm going to curve all the way down off the right side. Okay. Then kind of where we stopped down here, I'm going to curve back up towards the center in a curved line and meet it up there. Edit the arc if you need to, but we should kind of have a shape like this. So it curves down from the center to where our ovals met together, then it goes back up following that kind of curve of the oval and then curves back off the side. And then I just need to connect it to fill it in. So I'm going to start on the side here and connect around the bottom to the symmetry line. And as soon as you hit the symmetry line, you should be connected to the other side. And then we can fill that in. So that's kind of like the start of our shadow there. Then similarly, we need a highlight on the top where the moon's going to hit. So same layer, I'm just going to switch my color to the fourth one on the top row. And with my monoline brush, I'm just going to create some little highlights on the tips of these bumps. So just kind of, I come in and then I go back off. And then same thing in like the center here, we'll just kind of highlight the top of it a little bit. Like so, nothing too crazy, just a small little highlight. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to add one more good shadow to really bring it home. So same layer, I'm just going to switch to my darkest color now, third one on the second row, the darkest of my oranges. Same monoline brush. And I'm going to start at the bottom here, and where these curves come together, I'm going to start there, and I'm going to kind of curve up with it, and then curve back down off the other side. Something like this to kind of bring that shadow up a little bit. And then I want to take it a little bit thinner, so I'm actually going to drop my size a little bit to like 10% on my brush, and I'm going to kind of go back over it again and just extend it up a little further so it gets a little thinner as it gets higher there. Okay, and then we're also going to just kind of pretend that this goes up here, and we'll maybe add like another shadow there, and another shadow kind of right at the top here, like so. So it just kind of outlines where those ovals come together in a little shadow there. So that looks great. Nothing too crazy. That looks awesome. It'll look a lot better when we get the glow in. It looks kind of strange right now, but it'll look so much better when it all comes together. So that looks great for the front of our pumpkin. That's it for that part. So let's go ahead and if you're happy with that, I'm going to snap the clipping mask layer to the main face layer. And then we can also snap it with the one behind it, the little orange crevices that we made, the little light orange crevices. And then we can even snap it to this glow layer inside. Boom. But let's leave these other ones separate for now. We're going to work on them next. So our next is our little stem. So let's go ahead and add some details to that. And this time we're just going to click on this layer and turn on alpha lock. And that's just going to let us draw right within this layer. We did a clipping mask for our pumpkin because we were creating such a big shape to fill in. But this one's so small that we'll just like fill it in with our brush. So I'll show you how that works. So We're on our stem layer, alpha lock's turned on. Our base color was the 5th one on the second row. So we have a darker and lighter one right next to it. So let's grab our darker one, 6th one on the second row. Same monoline brush. I'm going to increase my size back to 30. And our shadow is going to be like towards the bottom side. So I'm just going to start on the left side here and curve a little bit to kind of start that shadow, and then fill in everything below that we can see on our stem to create a shadow on the bottom edge there. And then our highlight, same thing. We're just going to switch to that color, 7th one on the second row, same brush and everything, and we're just going to kind of create a little highlight across the top and fill that in with our brush. And that is it for our stem. Easy peasy. Same thing for our back little bumps here. They're going to have a little bit of a highlight on them. So on our layer menu, we're going to go to that layer, click on it and turn on alpha lock, and drawing assist already on. So symmetry is on for this one. So the highlight color that we're going to use for this is going to be our base color, the first one on the second row. Since this one's darker, this is going to look like a highlight on it. So grab that color, same monoline brush, and I'm just going to make a little highlight across the top there. And it mirrors on the other side. Awesome, that looks great. So that's it for our pumpkin. Next up on our agenda is to snap all these layers together for our pumpkin. If you're happy with them, I'm going to snap them all to one layer. And then we're going to add a new layer for our moon. No drawing assist. And let's grab our first moon color. So in the sky here, we have our background color, our glow color for the whole scene. And then this next color, third one on the top row, is our moon color. So grab that, monoline brush at 30%. And we're just going to draw a perfect circle up in the sky here. So a good circular shape, hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. Set it to kind of whatever size, a good size like this, and then go ahead and fill it in. And then if we need to, we can grab it with our arrow tool, and on uniform, you can resize it, but I think this is a good size. So I don't want it touching the top of my canvas, and I don't want it touching the top of my fence, but just a good size like this is good. And then I'm going to center it on my vertical yellow line here, so it's centered in the sky. Layer menu, let's add a new layer above this one. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask, and we're going to draw some spots on the moon. So that's going to be with our next color in line, 4th one on the top row. And we could use our monoline brush to draw circles, but another thing that I like to do is use my selection tool, set it to ellipse, and turn on color fill. And then we can just start, and if you start at a point and draw outwards, we get a good circle shape, and then it fills itself in when you're done. So I'm just going to do that kind of all over, some going off the edge, some like really small ones. And it won't always be a perfect circle, like you can draw an oval too, but that's okay. Some of them can maybe be like a little more oval-like. And then you can click your selection tool to turn it off and see how it looks, but I'm just going to do a little bit of spots like that. Now on our layer menu, let's go ahead and add another new layer above our moon and click on it and set it to a clipping mask. So we're still with the drawing within our moon shape, but this time we're going to click the N on this layer and we're going to set it to overlay. So we're going to change the layer style. So this is going to help us add shadows and highlights to the moon without messing up the colors that we already have laid down, like our spots and stuff. So we're on our overlay layer. We're going to grab this next color in line, 5th one on the top row. It's a nice dark purple, so this is going to be our shadow color. It's going to add like kind of a light shadow to it. So for our pen, we're going to switch to our soft brush under the airbrushing category. Again, opacity at 100, size at maybe like 6 or 7%. And I'm going to start with the shadow on the lower side of the moon. So I'm going to kind of round with my brush here, like so. And just add a good kind of shadow down there. So as you can see, it turns the spots that it touches like a little darker, so we don't lose those. Okay, and then on the same layer, we're going to also add our highlight. So we just need to switch our color to the 6th one on the top row, and this is our highlight color. So I'm first of all going to just kind of add it towards the center in like a circular motion here, lightly, just a little bit there. And then we're going to really add it to the edge. So I'm going to lower my size a bit to maybe like 3 or 4%. And I'm just going to go right around the edge, pushing pretty hard to get a good glow going. Even where our shadow is, I'm going to cover that up with my highlight color. You don't want to go in too far. So lower your size if you need to. But I like to just kind of come in from the edge. as I go around. Awesome. So that is our little highlight there around our moon. That gives it some good dimension. Okay, now with this done, I feel like it's a good time to add our background, and then we'll kind of continue from there. So now we have our main three pieces in play, like to kind of make up like our picture, like our ghost will float in the middle here, our bats and clouds will be by our moon. But I feel like this is a good place to add our background now. So on our layer menu, we're just going to click on this background color layer and switch it to the first color on the first row. And as you can see, the moon looks great, the pumpkin looks great, but we can't see our fence. So now we're going to go back to our layer menu and just add a new layer, drag it all the way to the bottom of our layers behind all of our other objects, and grab our second color on the top row. Same soft brush, and my brush I'm going to up the size to like 25% or so, a nice good size, and we're going to go pretty lightly with our pressure. So if you need to lower your opacity of your brush at all, go ahead and do so if you push really hard, but we just want a light pressure, and I'm going to start just right around the moon. I'm going to kind of just very, very lightly kind of outline the moon. And then I'm not picking my brush up at all. I'm just going to kind of gently bring it around the rest of my objects here. Maybe start around my fence, but if I don't hit the very edge of my fence, that's okay. So just kind of something like this towards the around like the bottom of my pumpkin, and kind of like a slight curve, and then up through the other side again, very gently, like so, to kind of create a shape like this. So it's kind of like almost like a rounded triangle. But yeah, something like this. If you pick your brush up again, that's okay, but just go very, very lightly if possible. But this is kind of what we want to see. If yours got too dark at all, you can always go back in with your eraser too, and you can switch your eraser to the soft brush, big size, and you can kind of like go back through and like erase some of the edges or something if you need to, or to kind of like dampen it a little bit. But we want some good kind of like gradient, and we want it to just look very like mystical kind of. So we don't want it to be too harsh. The other option too is if it got too bright on your layer menu, you could click the N on this layer to open up your options here, and you could lower the opacity as well. So really just anything you want to do to kind of get your background looking how you want it to. But that looks awesome. Let's go ahead and keep on going with our moon now that that's all in place. And I'm going to go and make the glow around my moon. So we're going to have another glow around our moon. So on our layer menu here, find our circle layer that makes up our moon and slide to the left and hit duplicate. Grab the bottom one, click the N on the bottom layer and set it to overlay. Go to our wand icon, Gaussian blur, and we'll drag this up a good bit to maybe like 20% or so to get a good glow going. It's not quite as bright as I would like it to be, but it's as wide as I would like it to be. So I'm going to do 20%, go to my layer menu again and make a duplicate of our glow layer now. So that kind of helps brighten it up a good bit, helps really brighten up the edge of our moon as well. So that looks awesome. I'm going to go ahead and go to my layer menu, and I'm just going to snap those two overlay layers together. So I'm happy with that. You can always like lower the opacity of that as well. My highlight's like a little too bright on the edge, so I'm going to go to my layer menu and click on this overlay layer at the top here that's clipped to my moon, and open that up and drag the opacity of that down a little bit to maybe like 70% or so. Just kind of lessen that just a bit. But otherwise, I'm happy with that, so I'm going to snap those three layers together, my two clipping masks to my main moon layer. And that looks great. Next up, let's go ahead and add some clouds in the sky. So let's add a new layer on top of everything so far and make our cloud. So that's going to be with this 7th color on the top row and my monoline brush again at 30%. And I am going to start with just a horizontal line for the bottom of the cloud. So I'm going to cover up my moon a little bit, and I'm going to start with just a horizontal line, hold it down until it turns perfectly straight, touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal, and then we'll just build a cloud shape from there. So starting on one end, I'm just going to kind of curve, 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 back down to the other end, fill it in, smooth it out at all if you need to. That looks good. And then we'll maybe do one more. So I'm going to go to the left side now, a little bit lower perhaps. Start with my horizontal line again, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen. It's okay if it goes out towards like our darker color. That's okay, it all makes up the same kind of scene. But same thing. Fill that in. Okay, beautiful. Now let's go ahead and add a highlight to them. So on our layer menu, let's just add a clipping mask for this again. So add a new layer above the clouds, click on it and set it to a clipping mask, and grab our lighter color, the 8th one on the top row, and same monoline brush. And I'm just going to start on the edge towards the moon here and kind of just follow that shape inside till we get towards the right edge, and then come off, wrap around to connect the shape so that we can fill in that little section there. Very simple, like so. So then same thing for the other one. I'm just going to do the right side this time since that's the one like closer to the moon. Wrap it around, fill it in, or you can just like fill it in with your brush, whatever works. But that looks good for our highlights. So then on our layer menu, I'm just going to snap the highlight layer to my cloud layer. Looks great. Okay, let's go ahead and add our bats while we're here. So let's add a new layer, and we're going to use Symmetry to help us draw one bat, and then we'll duplicate it for a second one. So on this layer, click on it and turn on Drawing Assist, and then grab our black color, 9th one on the top row, and our monoline brush still. And I'm just going to start kind of like right in front of the moon, or you can start like wherever you can kind of see a good bat. So I'm going to start right on the center line, and I'm going to curve up and out a little bit, hold that down. So it should curve upwards just a little bit. And then starting at that point, I am going to curve in about halfway, hold that down, and then curve into the center line, hold that down. So that's our bat shape. Go ahead and fill that in. We can add a little head on it if you want, but I kind of like it just like as is with just the wings. I think that looks kind of fun, especially because we're going to make it a little bit smaller and kind of further away. So that's a good bat shape though. Grab it with my arrow tool on uniform, and I'm just going to downsize it a good bit and maybe rotate it a little bit and place it like up here in front of the moon. And then I'll make a duplicate for another one. So on my layer menu, I'll just slide to the left on this layer and hit duplicate. Grab it with my arrow tool, maybe I'll rotate it the other way and place it down here a little further. Like so. Basically, the last main thing to add is our ghosts. So we're just going to add those around our pumpkin. So I'm going to go to my layer menu, and I'm just going to add a layer above my pumpkin layer there. No drawing assist or anything. I'm going to grab my bright white color, last one on the top row, same monoline brush. And I'm just going to start a very, simple ghost shape. So I'm going to start maybe over here to the top right, and I'm going to have it kind of curve with my pumpkin. So the top's going to be circle-ish, but I'm not going to draw a perfect circle to start. I'm just going to kind of start on the top of the head, round for the head, and then kind of round into the tail, back to the head. Something like that. I'm going to do it again better, but that's kind of the idea. If you want to get some nice smooth lines, it's best to draw kind of fast until you get a good shape you like. Fill that in, and then you can always kind of smooth it out and stuff. You can even like draw a line and kind of like hold it down, a curved line, to get like a nice smooth edge. After I like to do that kind of like after I get the shape laid down. But this is good for one ghost. I'm going to grab it with my arrow tool on uniform. I might downsize it a little bit, or I can just like kind of move it a little bit lower here. But that looks good. I'll draw my other one on a separate layer just in case we want to move it or rotate it. So on my layer menu, I'll just add a new layer and same color, same idea. I'm just going to do another one over here. I didn't want to duplicate it just because I want them to be a little different, not identical. Fill that in. I'll smooth it out. Got a little big on me, but that's okay. So I can use my eraser as well sometimes. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to grab it with my arrow tool, might downsize it a smidge, and then kind of bring it up a little higher than my other one maybe, but it's okay for this one to be a little bit bigger, I think. That's fine. So just kind of get two good ghosts going how you like them. Then we'll draw our eyes. So on our layer menu, let's just add a new layer. And let's grab our black color, 9th one on the top row, same monoline brush, and I'm just going to draw two eyes on this ghost here, so he's kind of tilted. So I'm going to draw an oval, hold it down, click the edit ellipse button if you need to adjust it, but just kind of right towards the top of his face here on the left side, tilted with his head. Then I'll fill that in, and then I'll just draw another one right next to it, hold it down, adjust it to be similar. It doesn't have to be exact. Fill that in. Same layer, I'll just do my other ones for this guy. Same idea. Okay, those look great. So now we're gonna make them a little transparent and then make their edges glow a little bit. So on our layer menu, we're going to go to my two ghost layers with the bodies on them, and I'm gonna snap those onto one layer. I'm gonna click the N on this layer with my bodies on it and drag the opacity down a little bit to maybe like 75 to 80%. And now to make its edges glow, we're gonna just add that on another layer. So, but we wanna draw just within our body shape. And we can't use a clipping mask because if we add a clipping mask to this, it like makes it really transparent. So we just want to do something else. So I'm going to click on this layer with my bodies and click select. Make sure color fill is turned off and it should just show diagonal lines all outside of their bodies, meaning that the inner part of their bodies is selected. So on our layer menu, I'm going to add a layer above them. It should still all be selected. You should still see the diagonal lines. I'm going to go back to my white color, last one on the top row, and I'm going to go back to my soft brush. And let's see, I'll set the size to maybe like 5%, and you should still see your diagonal lines. But now we're on a new layer, and I'm just going to start towards the edge of each ghost, and I'm just going to go around it with my little soft brush to add like a little bit of a glow there. Same thing on the other one. So this lets us add it on a new layer while still using the shape of the ghost as our guide. Okay, selection tool to turn that off, and that looks amazing. They look nice and glowy. I'm going to add a few blades of grass around our ground, and then the stars in the sky, and then we'll add our final glow to our pumpkin and our ghosts to really just bring it home. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer just under our moon layers is good. So right above all of our ghost layers. If you're happy with your ghost layers, you can snap those all onto one layer. Looks good. New layer right above that. I'm going to grab this first color on the bottom row. And I'm actually going to switch our brush again to the Studio Pen now under the inking category. So we haven't used this one yet, but we're going to use it for our little grass blades. So my opacity for the brush is at 100. My size is at like 15, but do kind of whatever size works for you depending on how hard you push down. But I'm just going to start and make some quick grass blades. So this brush is nice. I start from the bottom always, and then you just push upwards and it kind of comes to like a little taper. But I'm just going to go like in front of the pumpkin on the ground, some kind of varying sizes, some together, some alone, some small, some tall, just kind of whatever works around the ground here. Nothing behind the fence, just all in kind of the foreground area is good. Something like that to just show some grass being hit by like the moon kind of. Okay, speaking of the moon hitting the grass and the pumpkin, we need a shadow underneath our pumpkin also. So let's go ahead and do that. So on our layer menu, I'm going to add a layer right above my very bottom layer. Click on the N on this layer and set it to multiply. And then I'm going to grab my second color on the bottom row. I'm going to grab my monoline brush. And I'm just going to make a perfect oval underneath my pumpkin here. So I'm going to make a nice, good oval shape, pretty small and kind of horizontal. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. And then if you touch your finger on the screen, you'll set it to this like horizontal angle. So you see it snaps to all these angles. If it snaps to a circle, it means you do two circular, so draw it more skinny like an oval, but set it to kind of this horizontal angle. Wherever it lands is fine. Let's just go ahead and fill it in first, and then we can grab it with our arrow tool on uniform or freeform too if you wanted to like make it skinnier or wider or anything. And I'm just going to place it under my pumpkin here and under my grass and stuff. So that looks good there. Okay, next up, stars in the sky. Let's go ahead and just add those right above the layer that we're on so that they end up behind anything else. So new layer, let's go ahead and grab our third color in the top row. And we're going to switch our brush again now to the light pen brush under the luminance category. This is what I love to use to make stars. I have the size and the opacity both at 100. And all you need to do is tap in the sky to create a little star. If you push and hold down a little bit more, it'll get a little bit bigger. If you tap really, really light, you'll get a really tiny one. So we just kind of want a variety of those all up in the sky here. I'm going like towards the edge of my canvas in the darker area and then maybe down like a little lower than the fence is fine, but anything lower than that, probably not. But all around the moon, varying sizes. Whoa. maybe nothing that big. And then we're like behind our ghosts even. So if some end up behind our ghosts, that's okay. Okay, just a good variety of those. Like so. Okay, very lastly is our final glow piece that's going to add to our pumpkin and our ghost. So let's go right above all of those. So this layer here with our grass on it, let's go underneath that. So right above our ghost layer. Click the N on this new layer and set it to overlay again. And we're going to use these last two colors on the last row, third and fourth in line, to create our glow. So let's start with the third one on the bottom row. Switch to our soft brush again under the airbrushing category, my size at like 5%. And I'm going to go right towards the face of the pumpkin and go right around that to really make the face glow. Kind of changes the color, makes it a little warmer, and gives off this like glowing effect. Beautiful. Then same layer, same brush, we're just going to switch our color to the fourth one on the bottom row. And I'm just going to add this like around my ghosts a little bit. So right around kind of the edges of them. I just want like a little bit more of a glow. Awesome. And then if you were to like go and turn this layer off, you'll see like just how big of a difference it makes by turning it off and turning it back on. I mean, it really just finishes the whole thing up really nicely. So that being said, I'm going to turn off my symmetry line by turning off the drawing guide. And that is it for our drawing today. So I hope that you had fun. I hope that you liked the way that yours turned out, and I hope that you maybe learned something new. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up so that YouTube shows it to more people so that they can follow along also. It also really helps out my channel. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any future tutorials from me. And if you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.